Many people believe in the soul, or think of the mind as a kind of entity, a thing that exists over and above the physical body and its processes. But this idea is an example of reification, the tendency to treat something that is a mix of complex systems, relationships, and processes as if it were a single concrete object. We do this all the time in language. We say things like, society is a mess, as if society is a thing that exists as a single entity, or there is evil in this town, when we just mean bad acts certain people in the town perform towards each other. These are metaphors, of course, but they also shape how we think. And if we start treating them as if they refer to literal independent entities with agency, we're fooling ourselves. We start believing our own simplifications. Take digestion. It's not some ghostly force. It's a shorthand label we give to the entire system of organs, substances, and processes involved in breaking down food and drink. If someone were to say, yes, but beyond enzymes and muscles and so on, there must be a digestive spirit that makes digestion happen, we'd rightly be skeptical. Digestion is what happens when the different parts of the digestive system are breaking down food and drink. It's not something above and beyond that process. When the system stops, when the body dies, digestion doesn't just float off somewhere. It ends. That's it. The same is true for what we call the mind. Neuroscience increasingly shows us that what we experience as thoughts, emotions, intentions, and self-awareness are the result of incredibly complex interactions in the brain and nervous system. But because it's hard to see or explain all of that complexity, we simplify it. We bundle it into a single concept, the mind, the soul, the self. And that simplification isn't just something we do when talking with each other about the mind. It's something the brain itself does as part of how it operates, which is the funny thing. According to neuroscientists like Michael Graziano, the brain builds an attention schema, a simplified internal model that tracks where your attention is directed. Just as the brain builds a rough map of the body to guide movement, it builds a rough map of your attention to guide focus. But this model is necessarily incomplete. If the brain tried to represent every detail of its own activity in directing attention, every neuron firing, every feedback loop, it would be overwhelmed and crash. So instead, the brain uses shortcuts. It creates a simplified model of its attention. That internal summary gives rise to the feeling that there is an I directing attention from the inside, a central observer. But that I is not a separate thing. It's a product of the model itself, a representation, a character constructed by the brain to help regulate its own focus and behavior in an efficient manner. In the same way a GPS shows you as a little arrow on a map, in the same way the brain presents a simplified version of its own activity, the self, a rough, efficient stand-in for much more complex activity happening below the surface. And all of this might help explain why we're so tempted to treat the mind as something separate from the body. Digestion doesn't come with a voice in your head saying, I am digesting. Consciousness does. That inner voice, that feeling of I being in control is part of the machinery. But it feels real because that's how the model is built. And that's reification. It's not just using a metaphor, it's mistaking the simplified internal model for the deeper system it's meant to represent. If this made your brain hurt in the best possible way, hit like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.